after. Um, Thanks everybody for joining the January DAC membership meeting. Hope everybody had a good, safe holidays and enjoyed your time away from work and with your families if you got to hang out with them and stuff. Um, Couple things. We will be doing our February meeting again via Zoom. We will send out information on the topic and everything here in a couple weeks. Today, we're having Vikas Mathur talk to us about the worldwide quality reports. I want to thank him for doing the presentation. Also, would like to thank Sajati for sponsoring today's meeting. Jenny, do you want to take a minute and
Yeah, sounds good. So just wanted to welcome everybody. So hope you had a great holiday as well and Happy New Year. So excited to introduce Vikas. You guys probably all know him as well, but he is a key testing manager here in our Iowa unit for Sajeti. He's worked with us as well in the Kansas City office. So he's got some experience in both markets. In regard to that, he'll talk about the World Quality Report that Sajeti CapGemini and we do on a yearly basis. We've done it for quite a few years now. Some great information in there. And so in regard to that, so hopefully he'll share at the end that you can download that as well on our website. And if you are interested in opportunities with Sajeti or just learning about us in general, feel free to reach out to me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And so if you just want to chat in regard to, learning more about Sajeti, no pressure as far as joining or anything like that. So you can contact me directly. And then we do have once say you visit to download the World Quality Report, you can poke around and see what we have open. And we do have some videos about what it's like to work for Sajeti as well. So I'll leave it to Vikas to further ado to talk about the report. So.
all right. And if you guys have any questions while we're going, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll kind of keep tabs on those. And I'm sure there'll be time at the end to ask more. You can always just unmute yourself and ask whatever question you'd like. So with that, Vikas, go ahead and take things over.
I can't share my screen. I think it says that the host has disabled the. Oh, I can share now. Okay. No, it's still showing that the host has disabled participant sharing. Can you give me the ability to share?
Yeah, where's Dusty?
I'll see what I can do here. This is my first time actually hosting, so let me take a look here. All right, try now.
Okay. Yes, I am able to share. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Oops. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this presentation. I hope that everyone's doing well and keeping safe during these unusual times. I also wanted to take a moment to thank Dhaka for the opportunity to talk here. So today I will be talking about the 12th World Quality Report. I will be providing a brief introduction of the report, a brief background of the report in the introduction section, but some of the um, some of the uh, some of the items that I'll be talking about today in today's agenda are introduction to the World Quality Report, key content from the report, some of the key takeaways from the report, and some additional information provided by the report. Now, do keep in mind that the report has lots of details that can probably not be covered in an hour. It's a very detailed report with over 75 pages. I will, however, do my best to present at least the main highlights of the report. And as Jenny mentioned, I provided a link to the report over here, so you can get a free copy of the report. When you click on this link and you go to that page, it's going to ask you some information, and then the report will actually be emailed out to you. So check it out. I think it's a very good report, and it has a lot of great information. Now, the World Quality Report was released by CapGemini in November and in partnership with Micro Focus. If you're familiar with Tech Beacon, Micro Focus is Tech Beacon's corporate parent, and the World Quality Report is one of the most comprehensive looks at the quality practices in the global enterprise. This year, the report was based on over 1750 interviews, 1,750 interviews that included CIOs, IT directors, QA and testing managers, VPs and CTOs, and some other IT decision makers. The interviews themselves were conducted in June and July of 2020 using computer-aided telephone interviews, and each interview lasted about 30 minutes. The interviews were conducted across 32 countries that spanned different continents and also different sectors. These included countries like US, Canada, Japan, UK, Australia, China, and Brazil. Um, One of the purposes was for doing this was to provide sufficient coverage of different regions, and also, like I mentioned, different sectors. So that included vertical markets to provide different vertical markets to provide industry-specific insight into the quality assurance and testing issues within each of the sectors. And then for this year's research, only organizations with more than 1,000 employees were selected. And that's an approach that's been used for the last 5 years so that there can be a trending data that can be provided. Um, Key content contained in the World Quality Report. Some of the key findings in the report were organized in different focus areas that included orchestrating quality assurance in Agile and DevOps, artificial intelligence and machine learning, budgets and cost containment, test automation, test environment management, and test data management. And of course, for this 2020-2021 year, they also included a section on the impact of COVID-19. It's an unusual year. So yeah, there's a great information in the report about all these focus areas. I'll be covering a lot of these in the presentation too. But of course, there's there's quite a lot of information as I mentioned before. So I'll try to cover as much as I can. The report also, as I mentioned before, contains information about sector analysis, which I won't be covering much today. But the sectors included automotive, consumer products, retail and distribution, energy, utilities and chemicals, financial services, healthcare and life sciences, government and public sector, telecom, media, and entertainment. There's some great information about each sector in the report. If you want to find out about, say, some of the nuances of what's happening in financial sector or manufacturing or retail, you can find those in the report. I think it's a very good read if you're further like if you're interested in reading the report more. I would highly recommend reading it. I'll start by reviewing the executive summary of the report. This slide that I have over here provides a brief summary. Overall, there has been a good momentum, quite a bit of acceleration from transformation perspective across all dimensions. In terms of Agile and DevOps, and from artificial intelligence perspective, there have been quite a few great use cases that saw some maturity. There was growth in automation. There were some challenges seen in test data and environment management, but there was great progress made this year. From a budgeting perspective, budgets have seen to come down to 22% in QA. And then, of course, there'll be chapter on there's a section on COVID, which I'll be talking about too in today's presentation. Now, the expectations from QA has been increasing steadily over the past several years. One of the questions addressed in the report is whether we can meet the growing expectations of the QA, and the report provides an affirmative response to that question. In terms of the objectives of QA and testing in organizations, this chart over here shows that there has been an upward trend for each objective for which there was previous data. These include the need to grow business as well as and business to grow the business as well as ensure end user satisfaction. Clearly, the focus of testing has moved from just finding defects and being a custodian of quality to business assurance, which includes ensuring brand protection, customer satisfaction, and being accountable for customer experience of product and services. There were, of course, a few new criteria added this year, and it should be noted that the time to market and test automation were almost as significant as other objectives. It would be interesting to see how these objectives change next year and the years after that. Of course, one of the things that the report mentions is that of all the software disciplines, QA has witnessed one of the most rapid transformations from being independent function to being an inclusive one. And the role of a QA resource is changing from testing and finding defects to ensuring that all team members incorporate quality in their work, in their day-to-day work. So that's where the last point of quality enablement is actually becoming a real serious theme nowadays. Many organizations are moving to adopt this. So the report also included an entirely new question this year, and the answers provided a further ground for optimism. As shown in this figure, more than two-thirds of the respondents felt that their quality goals and are met, that they meet their quality goals, and almost as many felt that they had the right expertise. The figures for test automation and the time available for testing are very also quite high, and this is even though automation is still in the growth phase, and testing teams often feel that they are under more pressure than indicated here. Interestingly, we will talk about time to test as a challenge in one of the next slides. Um, it would be interesting when the data from the next year is available. It will be interesting to see whether there is a really consistent confidence about the extent to which these targets are met, or whether the respondents will be going through a reality check. Now, moving along into QA orchestration into Agile and DevOps. When we talk about Agile and DevOps, there does not seem to be any major change in adoption and Agile DevOps in QA. There's no major change since last few years. It's a case of steady evolution, then a major revolution. The organizations are moving in the direction of Agile and DevOps, or uh, uh, the organizations that are not moving towards Agile and DevOps, at least they're declaring that they intend to do so. And the reason behind this steady transition is that the world of business and technology in general is prone to regard a new development as intrinsically positive. However, like in many other cases, the adoption of Agile and DevOps should not be considered as a destination, but as a means to something much more important. And the objective is to provide a better overall quality. And then, of course, these development methodologies can help connect the process of QA execution more directly to the needs of the business. And of course, the adoption of Agile and DevOps is a process of continuous improvement. The figure in this slide shows the level to which various approaches are being used as part of Agile and DevOps. Emphasis to early testing and to automation is displayed in this figure as expected. It is surprising not to see the dashboard feature as highly as others, considering that visibility is one of the most important concepts of Agile, and the implementation of quality dashboards can be considered can make a considerable difference to implementation. Their use is a must-have and not a nice-to-have. Of course, like sharing is essential and quality is everyone's concern. So from that perspective, it's a bit surprising. This year and during the previous years, the World Quality Report has noted that the QA picture is quite mixed up, and that the functions are merging. The functions are merging such that testing is becoming concurrent part of software development lifecycle. Practice with people with hybrid skills. At the same time, there has been introduction of more centers of excellence providing specific services such as specific services as well as overall software development governance. It should be noted that QA is addressing many more attributes that include functional performance, security, and usability. And this is done at different levels such as unit, interface, and end-to-end. As a result, there's a need for multidisciplinary skills on one hand, as well as specialization on the other. In terms of challenges the respondents face in applying testing to agile teams, only 1% said that they faced no difficulties in this regard. One of the most common challenges was assigning appropriate tools for automation. That uh, this can probably be explained by the fact that 42% reported lack of professional test expertise in agile teams, and so the lack of expertise can explain the uncertainty in applying the right tools for test automation. The survey here on this slide highlights the continuing to need to extend the team's skills in a variety of areas, including technical and development operations, as well as soft skills such as collaboration. However, the area of greatest skills needed were of CI/CD pipelines, test case design skills, and at the top, test automation skills. One of the questions respondents were asked was about how important the following aspects are for successful agile and DevOps adoption. The first one was technology stack, which is not surprising. 65% of the respondents said that technology stack was the most important aspect for adoption of agile and DevOps. What was pleasantly surprising that 55% of the said that executive support 55% people said that executive support was important for agile and DevOps adoption. We all know that when we try to get support for a lot of these tools such as DevOps, there's quite a bit of financial support needed from the company. And I recently actually came across in addition to that, I actually came across a question where somebody asked, like, is it too much to ask testing resources from a competency perspective, since they're already since they're already working with a variety of different technologies to add DevOps to their skill set? And I think the answer to this question would be yes. One of the things that we need from the executive leadership is to push the community to adapt to the new world of DevOps, and also to address questions like, can the business give requirements in increments, whether devs can work on dev work and also automate unit works or unit tests? Can data and environment teams adapt to a stabilized data and environment when there's a deployment needed, not without needing to wait for a few days? So there's a lot of change that the executive need to push across the entire team, not just testing. So this is where it's a pleasant surprise to see this response for executive support. As far as operational and business priorities are concerned, we need to align releases to business priorities, and then, of course, executive support can drive the tech stack. Artificial intelligence and machine learning in QA. The top answers for the greatest challenges in testing key applications have been not enough time to test and not having the right test process and methods, something that I talked about before too, but I thought I'll start by talking about this here too. So the question here is, without spending time and money in assuring quality, is it possible to produce high quality digital assets such as e-commerce, supply chain system, and workforce management solutions? The industry has already started talking about developing systems and processes with intelligent quality engineering capabilities. Typically, innovations are greeted with both cynicism and excitement. The expectations run high with status quo, and That was the case with the survey for this report with transformation capability of applications of AI to digital assurance and quality engineering. Of course, we don't know when self-testing systems will become a reality, but significant speed and efficiency can be achieved by applying these smart technologies to business assurance. The adoption of machine learning to make quality engineering smarter has still not reached the maturity to see visible results. In many cases, test automation is still given a higher priority in order to find immediate answers to the perennial need to speed up the software development process. Another reason for less progress seems to be the lack of required knowledge and relevant skills in organizations. There's also the matter of testing the AI systems themselves. Do the organizations have a strategy for this? This is an emerging art. How to gauge something that's learning and morphing on its own terms. Clearly, new skills will be needed for to test AI systems uh, when it's still at its like nascent state. Um, of course, there are some sectors such as manufacturing, manufacturers of medical devices and automotive industries that have started to make some progress in this particular area. So for this year, the respondents were asked whether AI has changed the desired skills they need. In almost every case shown in the figure in the slide, the perceived skills are lower than previous year, but these figures disguise some of the marked country specific differences in the response. As an example, the overall need for this year was identified as software development engineering testing skills mentioned by over 34% respondents. In Netherlands, however, it was issue only for 5% respondents, while in UK, Belgium, and Luxembourg, the figures were over 70%. It could be that these countries are genuinely lagging behind in this regard, or it could be that the category is perceived differently in different countries and organizations. The country-specific differences were lower for the last category of non-functional testing skills. This could potentially mean that the organizations feel that they have things pretty well covered, or they think that AI doesn't really alter the requirements in these areas. As indicated in this figure, the respondents were asked to look ahead. Um, what were their plans for AI and testing? Of all the questions, the first statement here was the most popular, with almost 9 out of 10 respondents saying that AI is now the greatest growth area of the testing activities. The bottom position for test execution makes sense. Current tools already address these very well. Also, we might expect to see QA dashboards increase in importance in the years to come. And even though the benefits may not be fully in reach, I think the vast majority of the people are genuinely enthusiastic about the prospects of artificial intelligence and machine learning. These smart technologies have real potential in cost efficiency, in zero-touch testing, in time to market, and helping achieve continuous quality improvements. Now, switching gear to test automation. Test automation has been the area of focus in QA for many years now. We are now um, we are now seeing how machine learning techniques are being applied to object recognition and also to determine the overall scope of test automation to reduce exponential growth in test scripts. AI-based self-healing scripts automatically update the scripts during runtime in case of object and page element changes. We have also seen that the automation of automation, as an example, automation using RPA routines in order to identify the types and relative performance of most common functions each day these are becoming quite popular. Of course, only some organizations have seen this level of maturity, Many others are still feeling their way. One of the questions that was asked for the past few years, but not this year, was what are the challenges organization faced in achieving their desired level of automation? And among the most common challenge was the frequency with which the applications were changing. And this challenge hasn't gone away. It's still quite prominent. Another challenge was the lack of people with sufficient specialized skills and experiences. These challenges are probably the reason why only there is only a slight increase in degree to which automation is being used in different areas of QA, which is why it's surprising to see the degree of confidence organizations express when they were asked their views on various aspects of automation, such as those demonstrated in the figure in the slide. As an example, with the frequency with which the applications are changing, it's hard to square that 63% of the respondents are saying that they have enough time to build and maintain automated scripts. It could be that they're unwilling to admit that their teams are time squeezed. It's also interesting to note that 68% of the respondents say that the required automation tools that they have the required automation tools, and yet only 37% of them say that they get the return on the investment. The reason behind that might be that there's a highly increased maintenance that's required to maintain large automation suites. Benefits realized from test automation. The respondents were asked about the benefits and the bars on uh, the respondents were asked about the benefits, and then the bars on the left show the percentages of the respondents who felt that they were seeing the benefits from the test automation, and the boxes on the right show the average value of the benefit to the respondents. As we would expect, the perceived benefits for 2020 were much higher than the previous years. It is surprising that fewer respondents are seeing better test coverage. It's also interesting that the greatest perceived benefits were better control and transparency of the testing activities. The boxes on the right they indicate a lower perceived value of the benefits year on year. The reduction of test costs is a case in point. The reason behind this might be that the extent to which the respondents are factoring in some criteria when they consider the question. Are they, as an example, are they including the investment in tooling, infrastructure, maintenance, in building suite, or some other, or some of them are considering only a few of them, not all of them. Cost reduction might also not be useful as much of a useful metric for measuring automation benefits as, say, the reduction in test cycle times. I think cost reduction is a lot of, it's not a really, it's one of the popular metric that people like to use, but it may not necessarily be the best one. The figure on the slide shows how likely the respondents were going to use these techniques in the coming year. The greatest response was test data virtualization, while model-based testing, which was actually the highest rated technique last year, was dropped to a lower level. The test designed automation came at the bottom end, um, and no, not just like being at the bottom. It's actually even in terms of percentage, it's lower, which might be a good sign because that it indicates that the measures in this place in this area are already in place. Overall, it seems like a positive progress being made, and the organizations are working their way forward in spite of in spite of the increases in complexity of applications, devices, and browsers. Test data management and test environment management. Some of the challenges seen this year, that was seen in this area last year, are being seen again this year in the field of test data as well as the test environment management. There's still a big need in organizations to figure out the best way to spin test data and test environment on demand. Um, Though the adoption of cloud and tool usage has shown positive trend for both environment and data management, more maturity is needed to effectively use the benefits of cloud and TDM tools. Now, as shown in this particular figure here, the respondents were asked the extent to which they're using different test environments. Note that only 29% of the testing still occurs in traditional on-premises test environment. It should, however, be noted that the percentage of participants using a traditional approach has been slowly declining over the past 2 years. The proportion of using cloud-based on-demand disposable test environments has been increasing over the same period. There has also been an increase since last year in the container in the containerized environments that use Docker or a technology like that. While the chapters related to this topic um, the, indicate that the changes are here are small. There are two important points that are worth noting. The first is that while the differences might be incremental, some organizations are building real momentum in the move to cloud and the use of virtualized environments and data. The second point is that the general pace of change is likely to accelerate, especially over the next couple of years. How organizations are provisioning and generating test data for multiple iterations of testing and to which extent they are using each approach. This figure shows the range and extent to which extent of each responses is evenly matched. If this like one of them is 27%, 30%, not much of a difference in um, different ways of doing this. Finally, a new question was added for the year. Participants were asked to rate how frequently various test data provisioning approaches are being used in agile teams. And this figure shows their highest responses. Almost two-thirds respondents said that they use test data support team as an on as an as service basis. This is to be expected as organizations move to agile. Test environment management and test data management are indeed expected to become more of a shared service function, serving multiple and distinct agile teams. Also note that the extent to which teams are creating small dedicated test data sets for each sprint, which is at 59%, and the degree to which they are generating bulk data sets that are reused for each sprint, which is at 31%. These approaches are becoming more popular in certain areas in certain sectors such as healthcare, and these numbers are expected to grow for those particular sectors. Budgets and cost containments, which is one of my favorite topics. I can like go on talking about budgets and everything, but you know, maybe we'll talk about it later. I'll focus more on the report. Successful organizations are uh, they usually try to focus on being more efficient by doing more with less rather than cutting down on key initiatives and saving money. Situations like that of COVID have resulted in higher focus on budget control, and IT budgets have seen tighter scrutiny has that ha that actually ended up having cascading effects on QA budgets. There has been great emphasis more efficient uh, more efficient on being more efficient as digital businesses grow rapidly, especially in retail, e-commerce, media, and entertainment and healthcare. New platforming such as CRM, ERP, and native cloud and mobile app development in these sectors mean QA teams have to do quite a bit more. At the same time, new initiatives are being put on hold in several sectors. The twin effect of being more cost efficient and of cutting down on new initiatives has been to reduce the IT spend, and QA budgets have been proportionately impacted. Smarter organizations are continuing to invest more in QA and engineering transformation programs so that they can increase efficiency, improve the upstream product quality, accelerate their time to market. Some of the cost containment measures include adoption of open source tools, increase in cloud adoption to help with streamlining environmental changes, and also the application of AI and machine learning based techniques to make the quality assurance more efficient. Many organizations, however, are caught on the wrong foot on the wrong foot as a result of the current crisis that we're going through. Specifically, the organizations that are still at the low maturity level in respect to their digital transformation. As an example, of a few of the insurance companies had not yet implemented digital transformation measures when the lockdown hit us, and as a result they were not able to, in some cases they were not able to process claims because the workforce was not available to physically process the claims. Now, as displayed in this figure, organizations were asked to estimate um, the proportion of their total IT budget as allocated to testing and QA. The downward trend has continued in this year's responses. Of course, for 2020, the impact of COVID-19 has to be taken into account too. As shown in this figure, the respondents were asked about the breakdown of QA budget and how much budget is spent on hardware infrastructure, software tools, as well as QA staffing, and also how the budgets are moving overall, like in these particular areas. The proportion of QA budget has not changed much with hardware and infrastructure taking up most of the QA costs, like 45% for 2020. This is followed by software tools, leaving behind just a quarter of the budget to be spent on QA staffing. It seems like there's a greater emphasis on removing human resources rather than making any significant changes to hardware and infrastructure budget. And finally, the organizations were asked to rate the impact of um, different aspects of the importance of different aspects of um, making testing more efficient. The high levels of efficiency given to shift left testing, to intelligent autonomous solutions, and to enhance provision of test environments and test data all are consistent with what was actually observed in the field. The impact of COVID-19 on QA. This time last year, no one would have actually imagined that the report would have a section like that. With all that's happening, we did see the importance of a few things. For one, the very principle of testing. Now we do realize that that's really very important. Another, we always knew, but with COVID, I think it actually brings up the focus very high. Another item of importance was testing early, which has been gaining significance over the past few years. But of course, a crisis like this makes us realize its importance more and more. Automating tests to achieve scale is important. Adopting risk-based testing strategy, category-based prioritization, whether that's population, demographics, or the line of business. The changes brought by the pandemic can vary significantly based on the industry segment. Some segments were impacted more than the other due to the legacy working practices. As an example, many organizations in manufacturing sector or financial sector have been slow in moving to cloud-based environments. This has made it a little harder for them to maintain business operations while working from home. Also, many industry sectors had to change their business model almost overnight. The retailers are a great example here. Most of them had businesses based on in-store experiences and had to move to online sales, and continue their business like overnight. In some ways, things did not change in nature, but also in degree. For example, working from home has accelerated Agile's adoption in distributed environment. And there has also been an increase in use of collaboration tools. This has highlighted the need to achieve comprehensive perspective with real time status monitoring and reporting in order to provide better visibility of QA activities. Like I mentioned before, I'll try to go quickly. I think we just have like 15 more minutes. The figure in this slide shows how the focus has changed towards Q activities to meet the challenges of COVID-19. Almost half of them predictably said that there will be significantly greater focus on customer experience and on usability testing. The accelerated digital transformation is emerging as an unintended consequence of the COVID pandemic. As expected, many respondents said that the focus on more and better collaboration tools will go up. Focus on remote access to test systems and environments was also highlighted by 34% of the respondents. QA in the post pandemic world. The pandemic seems to have changed the perceived quality goals, or at least that the goals need to be they, they need a major overhaul. The watchwords for QA have always been speed, quality, and cost, and the trade-offs between them have always been present. As businesses begin to emerge from the pandemic, these goals will need to be reassessed for every individual system and applications in the application test projects. There's a great determination to use upheavals of 2020 as an opportunity to make positive changes in practice and the mindset as far as quality assurance is concerned. Even with the lowest rated statement in the figure in the slide shows that almost three-quarters of the respondents said that more automation is needed. And of course, the other four featured statements are at 80% or more. The interesting and heartening thing is the positivity and the willingness to change, to strengthen the community and the collaboration, and to empower the teams with greater responsibility. Um, I think with this, I'll just go ahead and wrap the application, the wrap up the presentation. I'm sorry. Um, I would highly recommend that you guys like go and get the report and review it, because I just provided just a brief glimpse of it. There are quite a few details included, key recommendations in each section that I talked about, sector analysis, and so on. Um, I will open up the floor to questions.
Hey Vikas, this is Yatin. Great thought leadership on Sujati's side to put together this report, comprehensive report, right? It's very nice, and thanks for sharing it with the team. Uh, is there anything in the report? And I've requested it. I don't think I've got the link to it, so I can go and take a look at it. But is there anything in the report that speaks to the relevance of center of excellence, like QA center of excellence, right? Like with the shift left taking prevalence, and the focus being quality enablement of the larger team, how relevant is a strong QA focused COE?
I don't think there's much of reference to center of excellence. There have been references to like groups like providing services like test data management and things like that, but
Mhm.
not really. Like I guess with um, focus being more on agile, and I think generally like in most agile teams that I've worked in, like you know teams are actually getting rid of center of excellences, and some of the clients that I worked with, they are trying to make teams a lot more autonomous. So they're
Yeah,
trying to uh, avoid the use of center, which I don't necessarily I kind of understand the concept behind that, to moving away from center of excellence, but that's a separate topic of discussion. But yeah, there's no specific
yeah,
topic on a center of excellence.
yeah. That's exactly what I'm observing as well, right? The clients are moving away, or
Yeah.
businesses are moving away from management. was
Yeah.
curious to see if there was any analysis done around it. But
I do have a
great report, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do have some opinion about that. Like, I understand, moving away from center of excellence and provide making each team independent and everything. But I, I, again, that's a separate topic of discussion. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is really great report. And unfortunately, I couldn't. There's so much that in the report that I couldn't talk about. So yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't talk. But at least I was able. The glad thing, I'm glad that at least I provided some highlights. But yeah,
No, this is good. This is great.
yeah. Any more questions? I guess if there are no more
I
questions.
don't see any in the chat, Vikas, and so if there's no one that has any more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. And Vikas, thanks again for presentation and reports. Quite interesting. I'll have to make sure to get to check out the link. I got kicked out of the meeting at one time, so I lost my chat. So I'll have to have Dusty resend it to me.
Oh, okay.
But,
Thanks for
so,
joining this talk.
all right. Well, everybody have a good day or rest of your evening. And again, we will send out information on the February meeting in the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.